thank you, Dr. Sanjay and Dr. Arora, for making me part of this mental health working group. It has been a real privilege to work on the guidelines for mental health. I'm going to just share my screen. Yes, so as Dr. Arora and Dr. Komal outlined, that the goal of the ISOC guidelines have been designed in a particular way to highlight specific things that we as members of the community can do to improve the mental health of LGBTQIA people. And I will specifically talk about the role of mental health professionals and services and the possibilities of care. I'll be talking about some of the things that, some of the specific guidelines we provide, we talk about that professionals and organizations can follow. As Dr. Komal also highlighted, there's a significantly higher number of mental health challenges that LGBTQI people face due to institutional and societal prejudice that leads to stereotypes, stigma, alienation, and invisibilization, which results in significantly higher mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. However, despite this higher prevalence of mental health issues, very few LGBTQIA people report having mental health support or care due to lack of access to quality health resources and support. The Section 377 was read down 2 years ago, and it acknowledged that the oppression that LGBTQIA people face. But it also centered around a collective responsibility that we as a society have. As Dr. Arora mentioned, that is one of the central tenets of the guidelines that we propose, that the problem is social and we have a collective responsibility to help face it. And for too long, mental health services and community has been complicit in being part of these oppressive structures. However, we are trying to move away from the system of cure to care and to break down oppressive structures that pathologize and discriminate queer people and help in promoting their well-being in an affirmative and deliberate manner. So what might we as mental health professionals do to contribute, generate, and operationalize to make amends? So we start with sort of general overarching principles that individuals and services can follow. And primary among them is the idea of queer affirmative counseling, which is a therapeutic practice that is centered on an intersectional lens and affirms the lived experiences of LGBTQIA people. Some of the central tenets of queer affirmative counseling are, it's important to affirm every life is important, provide non-judgmental and empathetic support, and encourage the discovery and acceptance of individual identities, but also help people in making healthier choices and developing a sense of intrinsic sense of self-worth. A very, very important part of affirmative counseling is acknowledging the role of psychosocial factors in mental health and recognizing the impact of past stigma, challenges, and discrimination. As mental health providers, it is really important to provide a safe space where issues such as disclosure of sexual orientation and gender identity, as well as sexual behavior, risk reduction, discrimination, etc., can be addressed. It is important for mental health providers to be aware of their role as enablers and for treatment, as well as awareness, and to provide psychological help to people ranging from children to youth who might be dealing with issues of gender and sexual identity. So in the standards of care, we highlight specifically what we as individuals and as a system can do. So I'll start by talking about the role of mental health professionals, what we as an individual can do. The most important thing, I think, is starting with our own introspection and acknowledgement of our own bias. We have grown up, it is likely that we have grown up in a heteronormative promoting culture, and this is often internalized as internalized homophobia. And it is really important for professionals to become aware of their own stance and be clear about their own attitudes of gender and sexuality. By engaging in self-reflective practices, it is important that we create enough opportunities and forum to continue questioning our own internal bias. And an important aspect of this is engagement in continuous training. Many mental health practitioners in India had not had any training or experience working with adults or children with gender incongruence or the spectrum of sexual orientation. However, it is important for professionals to read up and stay well informed and know about the current research and advances about affirmative practice. As part of this training, it's important to learn from the experts, learn from the people that we are trying to help, learn from the lived experience of LGBTQIA people, and provide non-judgmental counseling that affirms the individual's intrinsic lived experience. A very, very important part of this affirmative practice is keeping abreast of the language that is being used and the changing terms in classification systems. It is important to know about the specific mental health difficulties and comorbidities that occur in the experiences of people who are LGBTQIA+, and how they navigate their inner world with this diversity in the context of outer social constructs. A really important aspect is confidentiality. There's a reason why many people keep their coming out a secret. Because there is a lack of spaces and safe spaces and people to come out to. Often it is a journey and it's not a choice. And confidentiality is a very crucial aspect of this process. It's not at all a choice. It is a necessity if we are a mental health professional who are helping people through this journey. It is really important to understand that each individual's experience is quite unique, and we cannot make assumptions about the entire community by engaging with just one person. It is really important within the therapeutic space that when someone comes out, that we are accepting and affirming, and we strive to understand the specific challenges that the individual is facing, rather than assume that there are generalized challenges that all diverse individuals face. It is equally important to highlight and amplify the resilience they can develop. It is not just important to identify the vulnerabilities that LGBTQIA people are facing, but also important to nurture the strengths, which is a very, very important aspect of affirmative practices. It's important to recognize that there is no singular therapeutic technique. This is not a single therapeutic approach. And it's important to understand that different people have different journeys, and one of the important things that the guideline advocates is the need for the mental health professional to train and equip themselves to be able to say yes to all clients with gender and sexual diversity, and be inclusive in their professional practice. It is important to understand, very, very important to understand how a social change might be created to aid the improved well-being of LGBTQIA people, not just within the therapeutic space, but also outside it. It's important to recognize that transgender people are more likely to experience positive life outcomes in India when they receive social support, are integrated into the social fabric of the society, and receive trans-affirmative care. As part of this journey, documentation is really crucial. It's important to maintain records and documents in case clients have the wish to access these, and they can become an important part of witnessing their own journey to transition. Interdisciplinary collaboration is really important. As was talked about, there are various aspects of health, biomedical, psychosocial, etc. And this navigation of the interdisciplinary aspects of health on the client can often be very stressful. And it is, as a mental health professional, it is our role to be able to work with multiple professionals in various domains rather than operate in silos, which can minimize the stress faced by LGBTQ people and increase the impact of the mental health care that they receive. It's also important to encourage other professionals to strive to increase their awareness and competence while providing support and care through gender affirmative and diversity celebrating care and practices. Moving on to the role of mental health organizations as a system. What can mental health organizations as a system do to provide queer affirmative care? Right from the very beginning, it is important to create an inclusive and non-discriminatory mental health care environment. This can be starting from physical spaces. It's important to have waiting areas with diversity affirmative visuals and messages which are LGBTQIA friendly. It's important to have LGBTQIA affirming books, magazines, and videos in the waiting area so people feel comfortable and the administrative procedures, while being part of a mental health service, needs to be respectful and use inclusive terminology that does not make assumptions about another person's sexual orientation or gender identity, and uses culturally and linguistically appropriate language during the procedures during intake. For example, specifically, the intake and data collection process needs to accommodate the needs of LGBTQIA people. It needs to respect youth's ability to self-identify. It's important to include information about how confidentiality will be maintained and how this information will be shared among the staff of the mental health service. And very, very importantly, the service needs to be mindful of the usage of non-stigmatizing, non-pathologizing affirmative language. It is important that all staff and team members who are part of the mental health service are aware of their own concept of gender and sexuality. And as I mentioned earlier, as this is often binary and heteronormative, it is likely to invisibilize the spectrum of difficulties that an LGBTQIA+ person often faces. And it's important for the team to acknowledge their own stance. As an organization, we need to promote reflective practices within professionals and among all staff to make diversity visible, and ensure that there are enough safe spaces and forum where active reflective practices and questioning of dominating themes and discourse about gender and sexual orientation can take place. And I cannot stress upon this that maintaining confidentiality of information is really quite important. One way to go forward with increased recognition and understanding is through by developing staff training programs which for queer affirmative practices, which involves specific themes. For example, a review of the vocabulary and definitions relevant to LGBTQIA people, including culture-specific rather than Western adopted labels. An exploration of myths and stereotypes regarding LGBTQ people. Often the developmental issues and the adaptive strategies that they might face. Workshops promoting positive development of LGBTQIA children and adolescents. A review of the coming out process and how families and adults can support a young person going through this journey. The issues and challenges which are unique to transgender youth. The approaches to working with families of LGBTQIA youth, and a guideline specifically on how to serve LGBTQIA people respectfully and equitably, and how to organize community as well as professional resources that are available to LGBTQIA people and their families. A very key aspect of being a mental health service is to adopt written non-discrimination policies, which prevent all kinds of harassment and discrimination, including jokes, slurs, and name-calling. And these practices need to apply to all personnel, including caseworkers, direct staff, peripheral staff, facility staff, professionals, everyone. And it's also important to have a formal grievance procedure that can allow for confidential filing of complaints and neutral third-party investigations in case of any disputes. Very importantly, it's important to prohibit practices that pathologize, punish, or criminalize LGBTQIA youth. And it's important not to condemn or criticize youth who explore their attractions for the same sex in an appropriate and consensual manner. Service should not practice any intervention or therapy that seeks to change sexual orientation or gender fluidity, as was discussed earlier. And it's important to practice promote practices that affirm and celebrate gender and sexual diversity, which includes education of families and caregivers around the LGBTQIA identity and their involvement in various activities. important to reach out to the LGBTQIA people to recruit personnel, facility staff, etc. And promote a progressive and culturally competent environment, which includes LGBTQIA youth, in the development of policies, procedures, and has them in positions on advisory boards and governing bodies. And important to display signs and symbols that positively displays the community where services are delivered, conveying their queer affirmative nature. And those are the guidelines that we have proposed for the individual and the system for a mental health provider. To conclude, it's really important to have support in life for a person's mental health and well-being. And it is important to identify that the change needs to occur within the society to challenge systemic oppression at all levels. Equally important is the need to recognize the strength and courage required for LGBTQIA people to stand up in the face of discrimination, but also important to acknowledge the enduring capacity for people to heal from wounds of prejudice. From awareness to access, change is always possible. Thank you.